Go. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to your favorite Monday night show, John with Jack, for the third night in a row because you got two special editions. I know you can't get enough of me. So here you are again for another dose. Tonight, joining me is my special guest, Viktor Gorchev, the Scrying Dutchman, the stay buffed marshmallow man himself.
Yeah.
Victor, now,
Hey,
I've
hey.
known you a little bit for a while online, and I want to start out with my traditional question. How did you get started in RPGs?
So I've told this story plenty on other streams. So if it's a repeat for some people, I'm sorry, but I got to answer the question here. So for years now, a couple decades, like close to 25, maybe even 30 years at this point, I've been
Noob.
playing multi-user dungeons, mods. So like these like online text games. So in the early 2000s, like maybe like 2002, 3 ish, something like that, I started on one that was Shadowrun themed. And basically, how it would go is like during the week, you would just play your character on what they call the grid, like the in-game world, and you would
Yeah.
just like do freeform role play, like hang out in nightclubs and like socialize with people and like like stuff like that. And then during the weekends, the people that ran the game, the staff, they would have NPCs show up in these certain areas, the Mr. Johnsons in Shadowrun parlance, and you could go there and you could get like a job as like a shadow runner. Like you could take missions, and then
Right.
they would run those as actual like shadow run, like one shots, like over text and everything. But they would still use the shadow run
Full character
system.
sheets, rule set,
Yeah,
and all
yeah, and
that.
I think it was third edition. I can't remember. It was second or third edition, but either way. So yeah, so that's how I got involved with it. I would just like have my character sign up for these shadow ones, and I would do these one shots, and yeah, it was really fun. We used like some kind of chat program at the time. Like VTTs weren't really a thing, so I think we just had like a dice roll bot on like instant messenger or something, like AOL instant
God, yeah.
messenger, like
That
something like
far
that.
back,
Yeah,
even the dice rolling
yeah.
bots were not very good.
Yeah, no, no. So this was like really, really early days. So yeah, that's kind of how I got started in that. And
That's
then
amazing and
yeah,
unusual that
yeah,
you got started in something other than Dungeons and Dragons. So
yeah.
that's a thing worth celebrating.
Yeah, no. A couple years after that, I visited a friend in North Carolina, and I stayed there for a month. And that's where I had my first D&D game. It was 3.5. We played that at one of his friends' like college dorms for like a month. So that was pretty fun. But yeah, no, my first game wasn't D&D. I did come across the second edition Monstrous Manual when I was like 10 in the library, the local library. And I had no idea what any of the stat blocks meant, like all the numbers, but I just liked the pictures. Like it had like the really cool old
Yes.
school monster art.
Oh yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
a great one.
yeah. So that was my first like real life brush with D&D. Aside from the cartoon, like they add the cartoon here in the Netherlands, so I kind of knew what it was, but I had no idea how it played or like how you were supposed to use the numbers or anything. So yeah,
Right. And that was the funny thing for me. I had been playing for a couple years by the time the cartoon came around. My brother and I were both
yeah,
were jazzed. And as much as we loved the cartoon, we were forever disappointed that it was nothing like the game.
yeah,
Sure. They use the word ranger a lot. That's about
yeah,
as far as it goes.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
But that's still a great way to be introduced to it. And uh how did you transition into D&D? Was there an edition? Was it like fourth edition that you started with, or have
No, I
you
started
like
with
this new
I started with 3.5, like I said,
oh,
when I was
pardon me.
visited my friends in North Carolina. So that was that was 3.5. First character was like a barbarian, I think. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Um, and then after that, to be honest, I didn't really play like classic D&D for like years. I kind of continued with, well, I guess D20 Modern is sort of D&D. You can count it as it's like D&D derived basically. So, but I played a lot of D20 Modern, Urban Arcana. I played a lot of Tristat. I still love Tristat to this day, which is kind of the same as Big Eyes Small Mouth. If you're familiar with that one,
I know of it, but have
yeah,
never played or owned a copy.
yeah. Like what my first RPG book, physical book that I actually ever bought was a Tristat game was the Ghost Dog Way of the Samurai, that movie, and they did a twice
No
that
kidding.
version. And I love that movie. And then I saw that book was like on sale somewhere, so I ended up buying it and getting it shipped from the US, which took ages at the time. But that was like my first physical RPG book. I still have it. It's all torn up because one of my rabbits got added years ago.
Seems
yeah,
oddly appropriate somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was it was funny. I had heard of that RPG and then read an online article somewhere about it,
Yeah.
how it's specifically designed for one player, one GM.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting way to construct things. And you know, I'll be damned if I don't want to play any RPG that's based off of a Jim Jarmusch movie.
Yeah. Well, it's also just a really good source book for just doing urban crime settings in general. It has like whole chapters on how the mafia operates and stuff like that. It's actually a really good book.
Nifty.
For like as a setting resource. And yeah, the whole like one player and one GM was actually one of the selling points for me, because here in the Netherlands, like the hobby in person isn't really a thing. Like I've never played an in-person game here in my life, except stuff that I would run for like my dad and my brother.
Right. So a couple of captive family members.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So like the whole like, hey, I can play this with my dad, like, you know, and we don't need like a whole group. That was kind of a selling point.
That's very much what my childhood was like.
Yeah.
We never had a chance to have a consistent play group or a large group.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, over here it's just the hobby isn't really all that developed. Like it is in Germany. Germany is pretty big as far as tabletop games go. France, like the Nordic countries, like everyone's surrounding the Netherlands. Basically, like even Belgium has like a scene. But for some reason, the Netherlands never really had a scene. At least like the places where I live.
Come on, you have to at least have a theory as to why that is.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
What
maybe...
is there something culturally different about the Netherlands from other neighbors?
Well, we kind of have a reputation of being like, what would the word be? Like in Dutch, it's called nuchter, but
Nuchter.
like yeah, it's like we're kind of like a little bit serious and down to earth, I guess. That's the reputation we have, I suppose. So maybe just like gaming like that in general, like using your imagination isn't, I don't know.
We do not engage in that sort of frivolity.
Yeah, I'm just completely guessing it. And you know, also I've always lived in kind of like rural areas, like small towns. So it might be bigger in like places like Amsterdam. I'm sure Amsterdam has like a scene, and like some of the bigger cities, but like for the most part, like all the places that I live, like nobody even heard of D&D.
Don't say ignore in Dutch.
No. No, I
won't. I don't get that reference.
It sounds very close to a racist word in English. So
I have heard that before.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll avoid that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that kind of brings me back to how I got started. That's also kind of why most of my D&D or just role-playing experience in general has always been online.
Yeah, starting with MUDs, and when was like the earliest viable VTTs or webcam alternatives?
They had like a sort of VTT back in the early 2000s. I can't remember what it was called. It was like a pain to set up. But it worked okay. I might actually still have the file somewhere, because I have like an old zip file of like all my Ghost Dog stuff that I was sending to friends so we could play online. And I remember it had that program in it, so I might actually still have that program on my PC somewhere. I can't remember what it was called. Let me see if I can find it while we chat. That could be interesting.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, I have like character sheets from high school still, you know.
Yeah, I've like ancient stuff on my PC. Like old role-playing logs from like 1999 and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah, so I've pretty much always played online, except for that 1 month when I was in North Carolina, and but
sounds like your first love has been that sort of fantasy plus urban mix. That since Shadowrun is kind of appropriate, that Shadowrun is where you started, and that's that leads us into both Modern Necessities, which we got a copy right here, and the current endeavor, Streets of Magic.
Yeah.
So I want to set the stage first. Let's talk about Modern Necessities and where that came from.
So my first book was a 5e modern book. It was the Modern Adventurer's Guide to Guns and Gear, because I
That's
was
right.
playing 5e at the time, and I was like, it's a popular system, so if I'm gonna write a book, like I'm gonna attach it to a popular system, so I can at least sell this thing. Um, and then a week after my Kickstarter was done, the OGL thing happened. The OGL crisis happened. So the future around 5e was very uncertain all of a sudden. And
Yeah.
at that point, I'd already befriended like OSR people, like the Basic Expert and whatnot. I was already on his old Gilded server. I'd already played like OSR games, and I was kind of like rediscovering them from from before. Uh, so I was like, you know what? Since 5e is uncertain now, I'm just gonna pivot, and that's where Modern Necessities came from. I was like, I'm basically just gonna do the same thing and then do it for Old School Essentials. So
Yep.
again,
And
I wanted to attach it to like a brand, so I could have made a generic OSR. But I decided to go with Old School Essentials because, yeah, I'm honest. I want to make money at the end of the day. So
yeah, there is no shame in that.
yeah,
Capitalism is what's got us
yeah,
here now.
yeah, yeah.
And I can really see that too. Is that switching to OSC, or was there a reason you liked Old School Essentials the best as opposed to say Basic Fantasy or Castles and Crusades
Uh,
or any other OSR system?
Old School Essentials just seemed more. Well, it was still BX, so it was like compatible with everything else, like with Basic Fantasy, with actual regular BX, with like all the OSR stuff in general. But again, like I just felt that OSZ kind of had the name at the time, like the big brand name. So
It
yeah,
really did. It really
yeah.
did. And was Shadow Dark out by the time
No,
you?
wasn't OGL. I think it
That's
came out
kind of
like a
what I
year
thought.
or so later. Yeah,
Right, which then led to Blacklight, which
yeah,
is practically, well, it's not just an adaptation of Modern Necessities because it's beyond just stats for guns and character
yeah.
classes. There's a real setting in
Yeah,
Blacklight.
yeah, that was kind
So
of like my first setting book. So my first two books were kind of like generic toolkits, which I purposely wrote them like that. It's like,
mhm.
hey, this is like if you want to run a modern game, here's like the stats for guns and here's a modern classes and stuff like that. Which there's nothing wrong with that. I enjoy doing that. But for the Shadow Dog thing, I did want the setting because after I did Old School Essentials or Modern Necessities rather, um, people were like, and Shadow Dog came out. People were like, hey Vic, you should write something for Shadow Dog. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't mind. I like the idea. Like, Shadow Dog's popular, so like that's fine. But then I started thinking, okay, so how would I translate the torch mechanic into a modern context? Because I felt I needed to keep that somehow because that's like such a core part of Shadow Dog.
Yeah,
So I came up with the whole thing where batteries drain faster in like if you're like in these areas with like supernatural influence, and that kind of grew out into the whole setting. Because then I started thinking, okay, so well, why would these areas be a thing? Like, why would these areas with like this weird supernatural energy that's draining your batteries at like a rapid pace, and there's like all this darkness and weirdness going on? Like, how would that
I
work
really love
setting
that.
wise? So that's when I came up with the setting, and it was kind of inspired by like Silent Hill, by Stranger Things, like that kind of thing.
And
So
there's nothing
yeah,
scarier for modern people than electronics not working.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
There's nothing scarier. That's amazing. Have you ever heard of or seen a solo game called Exclusion Zone Botanist? It's
No,
actually it neat little system, neat little thing. It's actually a sketching and drawing game, like a journaling game. But they have a similar premise where when you're in that zone,
yeah,
electronics don't work. That's why and other technologies. So that's why you can't just take pictures and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, that the premise is you got to draw the plants that you see in there and get out with the drawings. But
Oh yeah,
it's
that's interesting.
so, but that I love that aspect to Blacklight, and that's a great way to incorporate the torch mat
Yeah,
mechanic and add that artificial timer to it.
yeah, definitely. Oh, by the way, as a aside, I found that that program. It's called Game Table. Game Table was like a really early VTT. Let's see, game table VTT. Nothing even comes up when I Google it. It's just so.
That's wild. Yeah. Well, and for many years we were involved in Vampire LARPs, and I ran one. There was a piece of software called Grapevine that everybody used. It was the perfect database for everything Vampire and World of Darkness.
Yeah.
But yet it's really difficult to find now because the guy stopped maintaining it. He wrote it. He wrote the definitive app, 25 years ago now, and maintained it for a good 10 or 15 years. And then he finally said, I'm done with you guys. I'm not doing this no more. I don't know if it's still out there.
Yeah, I just found an old wiki article in this program. Game Table is a shared whiteboard client optimized for the tabletop gaming experience. It is written in Java to offer broad cross-platform support. That's like literally the only thing I'm finding on it on Google. So yeah, I wonder if it even still installs. Kind of curious now.
I heard it on the grapevine. No, no. It was not great for tracking farm animals. Now, all of this leads up into what is now your crowning effort, because this new project, Streets of Magic, is not just the urban fantasy that you've been exploring already. It is your own RPG system.
Yeah, so I wanted to have my own OSR system. I felt it was kind of time to level up a little bit as a creator.
Sort of like a rite of passage, isn't it?
Yeah. So I decided to still go with OSR because like that's what most of my fan base is at this point. So going completely left field with like my own custom bespoke system just felt like a bad idea. So I kept it OSR. Plus, I just enjoy writing OSR games, and I enjoy that cross compatibility with. Like, I love the idea of just taking an old TSR adventure and then putting my rules on top of it. And now, like I always give the example of the Isle of Dread. So you take Isle of Dread and you use my rules, and now you're just running like a Skull Island type adventure. Like yeah.
I love the sound of that. That sounds great.
So I always love that cross compatibility. So I decided to still stick with the OSR. But yeah, like you said, it's kind of a rite of passage as a creator. I wanted to have my own system. I wanted to have my own games. I didn't want to just always be the supplement guy. Like, I have nothing wrong with that. Like, I one of my side projects right now is another Shadow Dog game. So nothing wrong with that. I love writing supplements for existing stuff. But I also wanted something that I felt was my own, that I can write whatever I want for. Because another problem with if you're doing supplements for other games, it's like there's other people doing it as well, and then they often beat you to the punch when it comes to ideas.
Right, particularly the more popular the system is, the bigger that problem is. Didn't you run into an issue with someone else using the name Blacklight?
So it turned out that somebody had done a game called Blacklight with the space. That's why I didn't find it at first, because I was always typing it without the space. But they did a game like that for Index Card RPG, and it has like a sort of similar concept where you're like secret squirrel types fighting monsters and stuff. So when I came out with Blacklight and I was doing the Kickstarter, like literally 2 hours into my Kickstarter, I got accused of IP theft.
Right.
And then Kelsey had to step in and mediate for me, which worked really well. Like, I'll always be appreciative of that. She really helped me out. It wasn't even the creator himself doing it. It was like his friends.
Right.
So yeah, I ended up talking to the creator himself, and he initially asked me if I would be willing to change the name, and I was like, yeah, if you'd asked me like 3 months ago, sure, but I'm like 2 hours into my Kickstarter now. No. Also, your friends were harassing and threatening me, so no.
Gosh.
So it was really cool otherwise, Tom. We ended up kind of working it out. Basically, the only thing I had to do was like on the product page, I say like, hey, this isn't associated with that Blacklight, but check it out, like, it's cool. Like, that's the only thing I ended up having to do. But it was a bit of an annoying experience because, like I said, I was like 2 hours into the Kickstarter. It had funded at that point. I was like drinking whiskey. I was like celebrating, and all of a sudden I'm getting messages on Discord like, hey, you thief. I'm like,
what? Huh?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. But
don't you have bigger fish to fry in life?
Yeah. I don't know. It was very annoying, and they were like, oh, we should sue you, and like, yeah, it was like, whatever.
Right. Right. Which funny thing, Patty says, yeah, and the lead time to the Kickstarter for Blacklight was months in advance.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But Patty, you
That's
just
the-
used the wrong name. You used the other guy's name. You're doing it right now.
Yeah.
IP thief.
Yeah, so
Confuser.
the
Muddier of the waters.
yeah. Yeah, so the lead time to the Kickstarter was months in advance, and then I had also released an early edition of Blacklight before that, like a year or so, year and a half before that. Like I did like a little like
Yep.
digest, like very basic version of the idea, and I sold it for like $4.99 or something. So it had been on Drive to RPG for a while. The lead up to the Kickstarter was a while. I was like advertising all over the place, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you stole this. Like, no, I've never even heard of you.
Yep. And Patty's backing you up here. We got testimony. He was playing ads for at least 2 months in advance, and a version of the game existed before the Kickstarter.
So that's why I told the guy, like, hey, if you had asked me this months before, that I would have considered it, but like not 2 hours literally into the Kickstarter. Like at this point, changing the name would just completely kill any momentum that I have. So
right. I mean, you'd have to go back to the drawing board practically. Like I could see if he had a real legitimate legal case, but
Yeah, no, they knew that he knew that he didn't. Like I said, it was. I'm not going to throw shade at the guy himself. He was very nice. It was mostly his friends, basically just white knighting for him, and they took it too far.
I guess there's worse things in life than having protective friends.
Well, luckily, I ended up with Kelsey white knighting for me. So yeah, that was nice.
I continuously hear good things about her.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah. So I kind of went on a tangent there. So what were we talking about originally?
We were talking about Streets of Magic and you making your own system because you wanted something you could really call your own and feel like you have a stake in.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you're doing stuff with Shadow Dog, it's like, I want to do a cyberpunk supplement, and then 4 other people are doing it, and they have like way more money than you, and they have like 20 people as a team. So it's like, I'm just one guy. I can't compete. So I wanted to have my own system where I could do whatever what I want to do for it. If I want to do a cyberpunk thing, I'm going to do a cyberpunk thing. If I want to do a horror thing, I'm going to do a horror thing, and I don't really have to care about what other people are doing with it. So
awesome.
That was like one of the big reasons that I wanted my own system.
I get that. So sort of like what you were saying with Modern Necessities, you picked OSC, but it really could have been any kind of OSR and can be translated over. I've only seen some of the shots on the Kickstarter, but it looks to me like Streets of Magic is also highly compatible. So anything you do write for Streets of Magic, just like with everything else, you can use it with whatever OSR system you like.
Yeah, so it's at the core, it's white box, not the basic experts white box, but like the white color. Yeah. But it has but it has like my own modifications and my own additions, like my own tastes and stuff that I think is important to make it like a proper urban fantasy game. And I have like a system for incorporating skills and stuff like that. But at the core, it should be very compatible with like standard OSR stuff. Like if you want to take the basic experts Makwa Hitel and want some kind of like modern soldiers versus like Aztec monsters game, you can do that. So yeah.
Hold on, I gotta write that down real quick.
Yeah.
Never mind, we're recording it.
Yeah.
That's a great idea, actually.
Yeah.
Let's do Blacklight invades.
Yeah. Well, that's like another idea. Maybe I can port Blacklight over to that system at some point and expand it on it and even make it even more my own. So yeah.
You know what? Since the way you've described it, I've already mentally in my head thought Blacklight is retroactively in that universe. Like,
Yeah, that could be, a version of it anyway. Because in the Streets of Magic universe, the supernatural is out in the open. So
right,
you wouldn't really have that secret scroll aspect so much, but maybe they're dealing with other stuff.
Oh, well, I guess that would make a lot of sense because most of the renditions I remember of the Unearthed Arcana and that type of D20 is that the shadow and magic exists, but it is mostly concealed from and that's what the whole Department 7 thing is.
Yeah, which I'm fine with. I love that stuff, but I wanted to do more something like Bright, that Will Smith movie where he's like teaming up with the Orc. Yeah, so I wanted to do something more like that, kind of also like Alien Nation, but instead of aliens, it's like fantasy stuff. So I wanted to be out in the open and basically just yeah.
Talk to me about setting materials for Streets of Magic. Like, what do you have planned? Or is it procedural and table driven, a la similar to how Chubby Funster set up Shadow City? Do you have a specific setting in mind? Do you intend to do that in further setting books, like do Streets of Magic Seattle or something like that?
Yeah, so it's a specific setting. It's a version of Earth, but fantasy stuff has always existed. So humanity basically just developed alongside orcs, elves, dwarves, like all that stuff. Um, and there's like a whole background that I have involving the Fae. And like basically the Fae showed up doing prehistory. They ruled Earth for a while. They created the lane line network. They created their server races, which are the elves, the dwarves, like all that stuff. And then they disappeared at some point, and nobody really knows why. That's kind of like an archaeological mystery. Um, and I kind of leave it up in the air for the reason why they disappeared. But they left, but they left all that stuff behind. So that's basically where all the fantasy stuff comes from. So the setting in the core book is this city called Lightwood. The locals call it Blightwood because it's just so corrupt and shitty, and like it's just it sucks living there, so they call it Blightwood instead of Lightwood. It's set in a fictional state called Dorado, which is kind of like my take on like Utah, Arizona, like that general area with like the mesas and the deserts and stuff like that. But I specifically went for fictional areas, even though it's set on Earth. But I specifically went for fictional areas because I'm European. I don't know American cities. Like,
Yeah,
like,
I
yeah,
kind of feel that way
yeah,
anytime I've tried to write or create for other parts of the world.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I don't want to do LA and then have somebody from LA like it's like, well, actually that's not where that street is. Like it's like actually on the opposite side of LA. So I went with fictional. That allows me to do my own thing. Plus, it kind of gives it like that comic book feel where, like in DC Comics, it's Earth, but Gotham City exists, Metropolis exists, like all these fictional
Right,
places exist.
right there.
So yeah,
Analogous to the big cities, and
yeah, yeah,
there's like
yeah,
kind of differentiations on which
yeah,
is which. And
yeah. So like New York City could still easily exist in this. Like all the real cities can easily exist, but my fictional stuff exists alongside that. Um, and then as far as like basic setting, I'm kind of like doing like a purposely timeless, like anachronistic thing, like Gotham City in the 1989 Batman movie, where you're not quite sure what year it is. Is it like the
right, a lot
30s,
of the
50s? Yeah,
clothing and
yeah,
styles and stuff like that, even of the
yeah,
buildings, is very old school, and yet a lot of that things are very new and
yeah,
very
yeah.
shiny and bright.
Yeah, so you've got like gangsters with fedoras and Tommy guns alongside cell phones and computers and like 80s rock bands and stuff
Yeah,
like that. So I'm doing it like that because it gives like a little bit of extra flavor. Plus, I can avoid having to set it doing specific areas and then having to reference specific politics and stuff like that and specific history. I can kind of keep it everything vague and leave it up to the referee what direction they want to take it in.
do you have particular favorite stylings that you like to mash up in your descriptives, in your art? Like, do you like to combine, all right, I like 30s
Yeah.
era gangsters with 80s punk rockers?
Yeah,
Right.
basically that, and then maybe like a little bit of like Vietnam era like stuff
Mhm.
in there, like yeah, like the like a Vietnam era soldier or something. So, and then maybe a little bit of World War II. So yeah, I basically mash like all this stuff together, and it kind of helps give it more of that comic book vibe. It allows me to make it my own and take it in whatever the direction I want. It allows me to avoid having to reference real world history and real world politics too much. Um, so yeah, that was like a very purposeful design decision. And then the artist that I'm working with immediately got it. Like I told him like my ideas, and I told him that the game is very influenced by this movie called Streets of Fire,
I
and he was like,
love
"Oh,
that movie.
yeah,
Oh
it's a
my
great
goodness, I
movie."
love that movie.
But he was like, "Oh, that's one of my favorite movies." So he immediately got what I was going for, and I think his art kind of hits it out of the park. His art really invokes that vibe. So yeah.
Yep. And we can see here, like, I love this cover.
Yeah,
That is his work
yeah,
specifically.
yeah. So he does all the art. I only have him as an artist in this book.
Oh man, look at that. That
Yeah,
is something. And it always gives me a thrill when I see the homage black and white line art.
yeah,
In the newest D&D books, I really don't like color pages. Like, if you got to have color art, fine, include those pages. But man, God, like these. Is it can one artist all throughout the entire book, or did
yeah.
you
So
have to? Oh wow!
it's just one artist, Nolan Collins. He's done stuff for my previous books. Like you can find his art in Modern Necessities and all that stuff. Uh, and
Mhm.
he's easy to work with. He's not too expensive. He immediately gets all of my ideas whenever I bring them up. He always gets really excited for them, like personally invested. So when I decided to do my first standalone game, I was like, I'm just gonna use him, give it like this nice uniform look.
Oh,
So
good. Yeah, yeah. You've done a really great job of showcasing the art inside the book.
yeah,
There is some really exceptional pieces here.
yeah. I always try to get like a good amount of art beforehand, just to make the Kickstarter page look good.
That smart thinking, smart thinking.
Yeah.
Now, you have done how many Kickstarters now?
This is my fourth one.
And now they have done quite well by my reckoning. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not no $1 million Kickstarters yet,
Oh
but
no, no, yeah, no.
you know,
Maybe who knows someday. No, I wish. But no, just in my little circle of indie designers, like I can't complain. I do pretty well. It's my fourth successful Kickstarter, so yeah.
my wife approves of your art choices,
Nice.
so
Yeah.
that's a stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Now, um, where was I going to go? Never mind. I'll pick it up wherever I was.
Yeah.
So, I love that type of artwork. It's the one guy consistent all throughout.
Hmm.
How much have you kind of incorporated your previous work from Modern Necessities into Streets of Magic as a core rule? As
So
that like classes and stuff, or
classes, I'm kind of doing classes a bit differently, so I'm not porting those over like one for one. Some of the basic ideas are there, because stuff that worked in Modern Necessities, also will work in this, as far as like kind of like this class can do this. But a lot of my gun rules that I've kind of refined in Modern Necessities and in Blacklight, I'm kind of like porting over, and then refining them even more in some cases. So and also because I'm not constrained to having to work with an existing system and then write my rules for that system. That's stuff that I've modified now freely because I just feel it works better for the setting and whatever. uh, like when I did Blacklight, when I did Modern Necessities, I still had to work with AC, for example. So AC is based on what armor you wear. But in this, it's like, well, I want people to be able to just be like a detective in a trench coat and a fedora. So I detached AC from armor. So you can still have, I call it defense score. So you can still have good defense and avoid being hit, even if you're not wearing armor. And armor basically just gives you damage reduction. No. So
I like that.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
nice way to do things.
yeah.
Now, Mo here, he's a guy I've met online. He is a German who happens to be a veteran Shadowrun designer himself.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So, so to fill you in, Mo, we're actually talking about Victor's Kickstarter for his own system that he's publishing called Streets of Magic. Vic, at the start of the episode, was saying that his very first RPG was Shadowrun. He believes third edition.
Yeah.
And Modern D20. Vic was saying that he plays that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is an OSR system, old school revival, old school renaissance, whatever you want to call it. So it's it's kind of like old school D&D, but with stuff put onto it to help for the urban fantasy ring. And yes, there is a Europe. So the score book, the setting is an American city. It's a fictional American city. But I do reference some stuff in Europe in the setting. And I do have plans for like source books. So I want to do a Europe source book. I want to do a Japan source book, like all that stuff. So yeah, I do have plans for Europe. I mean, I'm European myself. I'm in the Netherlands, so as you might have heard from my accent. So yeah.
Well, we might have extracted you to the U.S. by now. I don't blame him for questioning.
Yeah.
I've offered to do that for a few of my European guests.
Yeah. Oh no, I would love to move to the US at some point. As for what makes it special, like I don't know, what does make it special? I guess that cross compatibility, like I said, that was one of my main draws to the OSR. Is just being able to take some old TSR adventure or something that somebody else wrote.
Well, and
you can plug it in.
Here's the odd thing too: the fact that you've done more of a D20 OSR compatible system is a huge plus to me, because I'm somebody, I've talked about this with Mo in the past. I love the Shadowrun world, and I hate the Shadowrun system.
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
It's not even that it's complicated. It is, in my mind, needlessly complicated.
Yeah.
It for what it does, it's way too complicated.
I never had an issue with it, but it was my first system, so I didn't know any better.
Thank you. Please. Yeah, thank you. My wife is medicinally treating me for my.
Oh, that's fine.
So I don't.
Yeah.
Choke on my guest.
Yeah. No, but I was saying, like, I've never had an issue with the Shadowrun system, but it was my first system, so I didn't know any better. Like, so I'm sure if I had started on something else and then switched to that, I would be like, oh, what's this? But yeah.
Well, it was one of those systems at the time, and maybe I totally accept it might just be my personal aesthetic didn't resonate with me. Because I was around that time, I was also a big fan of the hero system and champions, which is instead of rolling a whole stack of D6s and then figuring out which ones are actually above my target number, you do I just add those numbers up, man. That's when you roll a whole stack of dice and add them up. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. I like dice pool systems in general. I like rolling a lot of dice, but yeah, no. So this is D20. I do use all the other dice, but I use them for damage and for a usage dice system. So anything from D2 to D12. But like the core system for combat and for rolling skills and all that stuff is just D20.
So fairly standard to what we're used to. It's D20 try to hit that target number or better.
Yeah, I wanted to keep it familiar.
I like that fundamental mechanic.
Yeah, I wanted to keep it familiar. And like I said, I wanted my own OSR system. John, the basic expert, and me are also working on an updated version of his Cowpuncher system. And we're going to make it kind of like a universal RPG system. So that'll come out hopefully in the next year or so.
John mentioned that when I had him on the show. How's development going on Cowpunchers?
Well, he's been doing his white box stuff, and I've been doing this, so we haven't really worked on it too much yet. But the plan is to basically take the system, divorce it from the Western stuff, and make it kind of like a universal RPG system, and then just release settings for it. So that's kind of because we both love the OSR, but we both also kind of wanted a system that's not OSR as like a little bit of a palate cleanser. Like whenever we don't feel like working on an OSR system, we can do something for that. So and he was like, well, why don't we work together on my update for the Cowpuncher system? I'm like, yeah, sure. So,
I do know what you mean there. You definitely need some, palate cleanser is the best word for it. And I would say I was a little reticent about it at first, but since they got me started on it, Black Lodge Games convinced me to pick up Mithras. Yeah. And that's a nice little system. So when I do need that change from the bog standard D20, there's something on offer.
Yeah, exactly. And we felt the same way as creators, because sometimes you want to just write something differently. It's like I've written this kind of mechanic like 600 times now. I want to work on something else this month.
Right.
So
and I think everybody who does these systems, they make their own house rules. It's intrinsically a creative thing. I think everybody has to write a game system at least once just to get it out of their system. I did it back in high school and gave it up then.
Yeah. Well, we're actually planning to sell this one, so hopefully it'll do well.
I hope so too.
Yeah. As for magic systems, so I'm not really doing the standard Vancian magic. There's some elements of it still just to make it mechanically work, but I'm kind of doing a wall to cast system similar to Shadow Dark, where you roll your d20 to cast a spell. If you make the target number, you cast a spell. If you fail, the spell fizzles out and you lose it for until you rest. And then if it horribly fails, there's like some kind of backlash, like something bad happens basically.
You got the mishap table.
Yeah. But other than that, I'm also not really doing the like one thing I never really liked in D&D in general. Like not every D&D does it, but some of them, where like the spells are kind of like a hodgepodge. It's like I have fireball and magic missile and like cloud kill and like whatever. Like, so I'm doing magic schools. So as a caster, you pick like one or two specific magic schools that you focus on, and that can be necromancy, pyromancy, technomancy, like druid type stuff, demonology. So yeah, there's like that. So I'm basically just gonna do all these magic schools, and then that also allows me to do stuff like, hey, I just found the Necronomicon in game. I just read it. I didn't go insane. Now I have access to a completely new magic school that I didn't have at character creation. So basically it allows me to do like artifacts and grimoires with like custom spells in it and custom magic schools and stuff, which I think is fun.
I love that too. Schools really were getting a lot of traction in the D&D world, and then kind of seem to really just go by the wayside. Less so in 5th edition. Like they preserved all the classic schools, to my recollection, as your chosen subclass. But
it's still a little bit of a hodgepodge still, because the schools are very general, and then the spells within those schools are still a bit of a hodgepodge. But I want to so I'm a pyromancer, so like I focus almost exclusively on fire magic and heat type spells and stuff. So yeah.
Okay, I can dig that. I can dig that. That's that would make more sense, because like what you were pointing out, this was all the spells were written and created first, and then retroactively they came up with these schools and sort of mashed them all into those.
No, I want to actually make characters specialize. So it's like I'm a necromancer, so I deal almost exclusively with like undead and stuff. So and then you can have other schools besides that, but there's only going to be. So I'm kind of thinking that like I was thinking on how to do this, but I came up with this earlier actually. So it's gonna be like it's gonna be spell levels from 1 to 5. So I was thinking that if your primary school, you can learn up to 5. If you pick a secondary school, you can only learn it up to level 4. If you pick a third school, you can only learn it up to level 3. And then so you're never gonna so you're never gonna be like a master of every school. You can master one, and then you can take schools beside that, but you're never gonna fully master those.
I could see that as some interesting knock-on consequences. I'd be interested to see how that plays out. One of the further benefits about what you do with the OSR style systems too is I think you have a much better intuitive grasp of what systemic changes will do down the line. Because we've all been using that essential D20 system for a long time now. So well, if I give you, everybody pretty much has a pretty good idea of what an extra +1 to hit does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm also using advantage and disadvantage because I think it's a nice easy solution to, like, I didn't want to have too many pluses and minuses. There's still some, but I didn't want to have figure out okay, should this be a +2 or a +4 disability? So I just put an advantage and disadvantage in there. It also gives it a little bit of a modern twist that newer players will recognize and hopefully enjoy. So
right. And frankly, the main thing I like about Advantage is that it's just a lot quicker at the table.
And it's good for edge cases and stuff.
Going down the list and stuff like that. However, I have heard some of the Wargamer guys argue in favor of the opposite side. No, the list of bonuses and penalties is way better because then you can plan and execute strategy. You know, if it's just disadvantage, I don't know exactly how much it's going to penalize me. So,
well, I kind of do both, but I wanted to have them complement each other rather than just go one way.
That's an interesting
Yeah.
balance, and I wonder. I'll be interested to see how that plays out.
Yeah. So it's like, an ability will give you like a +2 to something, but then you can also get advantage or disadvantage on it, like within the scene itself, like within the. It's like, oh, I'm shooting from behind cover, so I get advantage or something. Plus, I have a +2 for my abilities, so yeah.
Right, you got a
Yeah.
enchanted sight for your
Yeah.
rifle, which gives
Yeah.
you another +1.
Yeah. Exactly. So we'll see how that works, but I also, like I said, I also kind of wanted to give it a little bit of a modern, streamlined twist, just to make it more appealing to not just Grognard types. With nothing wrong with Grognard types, obviously, but
Now, since it's got the Shadowrun aspects, did you decide to do the net hacking or matrix kind of stuff?
So this is gonna have a little bit of that, but it's like modern. So computers are like, it's like the modern internet, basically. It's like a magical version of the internet. I don't really have like cyberspace or anything in it, so it's gonna be a little bit of that in there, at least in this core book. And then I am planning to write a cyberpunk supplement at some point and then expand on that. So, but I want to leave room to actually expand on that. So I'm not gonna put in like crazy detailed rules for that in this core book. It's just like basic hacking stuff, and then gotta have something up my sleeve.
Yeah, I agree. And in both of the games, the hacking dimension was the part of the game I liked the least. It felt too disconnected from the rest of the action for me.
Yeah.
So, played more Cyberpunk than Shadowrun over time, but in both cases, the computer guy was somebody who was completely elsewhere, and we were the guys boots on the ground.
Yeah. No, in this it's literally just make skill checks and then
Now, Patty's asking, are you running games of Streets of Magic now, and are you planning to when the Kickstarter ships?
So I'm not running anything at the moment because I usually doing a Kickstarter, especially. I don't really do much because that stuff is stressful enough as it is. So I'm kind of like taking it easy.
I can understand that because all your creative energy is going into the writing right now.
Yeah. But I'm hoping once the Kickstarter is over and I get back to writing full time on Streets of Magic, that I'll have it done far enough pretty quickly where I can start running playtests. And I want to do it on the Basic Experts Discord server. I might run like some one shots on the Wednesday show. We'll see.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll definitely run like playtests when the Kickstarter ships. And like I said, I want this to be my main game line, so I'll probably end up running it a lot.
You should do nothing but this for 5 years.
Yeah. Basically.
get it going real good and solid, and then then allow yourself to be distracted by other things.
Yeah.
Nothing but Streets of Magic for 5 years.
Yeah. Oh well, I'll have side projects, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm waiting for you to do the same thing, but in space. So like sci-fi plus fantasy.
Yeah.
And see what you come up with.
Well, I'm hoping that the course system in general will work for a bunch of stuff, and it could be stuff that's set in the same setting, or it could be a completely new setting. We'll see, but I have like a lot of ideas. And that's like I said earlier, that's one of the reasons why I wanted my own system, because then I'm free to explore those ideas, and I'm not worrying about like, oh well, somebody else is already doing this. So yeah.
And well, do you have intentions of doing any sort of a third-party license for?
Yeah, so I'm probably just going to use the Creative Commons, kind of like how Wizards of the Coast ended up doing it after the OGL stuff. They added like a Creative Commons license too.
Yeah.
And if it works for them, it'll work for me. I'm probably not going to have like some fancy custom license, because I also don't really feel like having to talk to a lawyer. So I think Creative Commons will work well. So yeah, people will be able to make third-party products. And then since I just started my own business, and I have my own like publishing company now, I guess, if you want to call it that, Lowland Legends. Eventually, I want, like, if I think you're cool and if you have like a fun idea, and you want to write something officially for Streets of Magic, then we can release it under the official like brand name under my company. So yeah, and basically we'll have some royalty deal.
And we've got an endorsement from Patty.
Yeah. Patty wrote an adventure for Blacklight, which he should update at some point for the new version, because it was a fun adventure.
Excellent. I've got to check that out. I forgot he did that.
Yeah.
See, Patty, you don't spend enough time talking about your own stuff. You got to spend more time talking about your own stuff. He spends all his time talking about other people's stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, so do I, but I don't have my own stuff.
We got to all uplift each other.
Oh, that's true. We love you too, Patty. Okay, now there is something I did want to touch on. It's more of a general subject related to games, but kind of bigger than that. And now I don't mean to project or read into things that might not be there, but I'm getting the impression that you like guns.
Yes, I do.
Tell me a little about that. When did you first learn that you loved guns?
Very early, actually, when I was a little kid. So my grandpa on my mom's side, I never met him. He died when I was like 1. But I look a lot like him, apparently. I've seen pictures, like especially when I was younger. Like I'm like almost a clone. And he was like big into spaghetti westerns. He was big into like guns, like all the stuff that I love. So I almost suspect I'm like some weird reincarnation. But he had like an old gun book. I still have it. The cover is like all fallen apart and stuff. I need to like get it fixed at some point. But yeah, he had an old gun book. And as a kid, I would I inherited it, I guess. And as a kid, I would just like flip through this book and like look at the pictures. So that like these really like amazing like high res photographs of like all the pistols and all the guns and stuff, like in like all this amazing detail. It's like a book from like the 60s or 70s or whatever.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so I would like flip through that even when I was like really little, and like this, I was like, oh, this stuff looks cool, and that kind of just always stuck with me. And then I'm actually licensed to own guns now. I have been for like, when did I start? Like maybe like 15, 16, 17 years now. So yeah, no, I love guns. Like it's not that easy to even get licensed. Yeah.
Being an American, as far as I knew, you weren't allowed to have anything heftier than a rubber band gun or something.
Oh no, Europe actually has like a lot of guns, like more than people think, more than even Europeans think.
Really?
But
dispel that illusion, because Americans very much get the perception that they don't let you have stuff like that.
It depends on the country. But yeah, no, if you have the license, you can, like over here, I can own better stuff than some states in the US. So, but that's just a licensing requirement, and then once a year, police shows up and they like check my stuff. I have to keep everything in a safe and like all that stuff. So that's like some annoying parts.
So there's bureaucracy and standards that you have to meet and stuff like that, which it's one of those things. I can see that in principle, and yet some are the rules they're making you follow really helpful, but I guess
in a lot of cases they aren't, because they're like, just like in the US, and I don't want to get too political, but they're based on just people that don't know guns making the laws for guns.
Right.
So
it's sort of like that's kind of the problem that we're at. We've been that way for years. For 40, 50 years now, we've had people writing laws about how we use computers that don't know anything about computers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's that happens in a lot of cases. So yeah, there's some annoying bureaucracy parts and stuff that Americans would balk at, like they wouldn't enjoy. They're like, oh no, that's like ruining my freedom. And I kind of agree, but I can't complain too much because they might take my guns away. No,
right? Yeah. So
everything
is just fine here. Love and freedom.
Yeah. No, but I think there's like a couple 100 million gun owners, like in Europe as a whole, like something like that. So that's more than people like even in Europe think. Because even a lot of Europeans think that you can't own guns here. It's like, no, you can, but you have to jump through some hoops. So
Right. Well, and that very much sums it up as it is in the States, because
Yeah,
wherever you are, you do got to
yeah,
jump through hoops to
yeah,
buy your guns.
yeah. Well, it's also not really that ingrained in our culture here. So, like, even if you're a gun owner, you don't really talk about it in person with people. So,
Well, that is
yeah,
one thing in America that we have in common is it's not a common casual topic of
yeah,
conversation with strangers. Like if you go someplace that is a gun centric place, the shooting range or
yeah,
the gun store, yeah, you'll run, or forums online for it. Then you run into people talking about it. But it's funny. I love joking. I just learned a few years ago that Ohio, the state I live in, is an open carry state. I had lived
yeah,
here almost 2 decades and never
yeah.
knew it was an open carry state because I never actually saw anybody open carrying.
Yeah. Well, in the US, if you find out that your friend owns guns, for the most part, unless you're like in like New York City or something, for the most part you're like, oh, okay, he owns guns. Over here in Europe, if people find out that I own guns, they're like, what, guns? What? Huh? So yeah,
Yeah. It's
so
like they
that's a bit
found
of a
out, yeah,
different cultural thing there. Yeah,
yeah, there's a lot more basic horror about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And so it seems kind of natural. How did that evolve into the game design aspects? Because firearms and those modern aspects have been a key feature of everything that I've seen you do.
Yeah, well, part of that is because I wanted to kind of capture a niche that I felt was a little bit neglected at the time, especially like that kind of D20 modern, the Urban Arcana type thing. I hadn't really seen anything like that in a while, um, and I was kind of missing that in like 5e and stuff. I was playing a lot of 5e at the time, and the 5e Dungeon Master's Guide does have like very simple rules on how to incorporate guns and grenades and stuff, but
I
they're very,
recall them.
yeah, they're very simple and kind of crappy. Uh,
Yes,
so
yeah.
so I was like, you know what, these kind of suck. Like I bet I can do better. I used to play D20 Modern. I have like all these ideas. So I just started writing some stuff in a text file, and then somehow a year later I have like a 200-page book, and then all of a sudden I was a games designer. But so that's kind of how that happened. And then like I said, I kind of wanted to capture that niche. And then when I was getting more serious about being an actual RPG designer, I was like, I'm just going to stick with that niche because nobody else for the most part is really doing it, especially in the OSR.
Mhm,
And if I just did like another like generic fantasy thing, I'd be like a dime a dozen. I
mhm.
want to like kind of set myself apart. So that's why
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the sad truth, is as
yeah,
beautiful as the OSR is, there's just I've seen so many versions of it now that none of them really stand out to me anymore.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like that's why like I know John did like Makuhito and stuff because nobody was doing that kind of like Aztec type thing. So that was like his niche basically. So I think it's
Yeah, I
important to if
in
you're
both of
especially,
those
yeah,
cases for Makwahito and White Box, I do respect John's vision, because White
yeah,
Box was that strict. I want the game experience of the 3 original books
yeah,
plus chainmail, and
yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
And then the same approach was with I've never seen anything I've never seen books about Aztecs that
mm,
were as well researched and as in
yeah,
depth as what's in that book. I'm like, holy crap! The astrology alone, it's like, where did
yeah,
you find this stuff, John?
yeah. Well, that those are his ancestors. So so yeah, that's why he's interested in it because it's like yeah, like both the Spaniards and the Aztecs were like my ancestors. So that's why he loves that stuff.
Makes
But
sense.
yeah, no, I don't think I would be as successful in quotes. Like I don't even consider myself all that successful, but I guess to some people I am. Uh, but I don't think I would be as successful if my first game was just like some generic like fantasy thing. It's like, here guys, like I'm a new RPG designer. Here's like my fantasy game. Like I think I kind of made my name and my brand because I was specifically doing that urban fantasy thing. I was doing the modern thing. I became known for kind of like my intricate gun rules and stuff like that. So,
Mhm. And
so
one of
yeah,
the things, if I remember correctly, you don't do strict ammo tracking. You have incorporated resource dice at various stages, like sort of
yeah,
yeah. That's one of those things that I like. On one hand, I played enough games, old enough, cyberpunks and whatnot, where you're tracking your ammo. That's just
Yeah,
I'm kind of used to it. But I kind of like those random systems because they simulate heat of the moment. I might have
yeah,
lost count, stuff like
yeah.
that.
So I like both. So one of my side projects that I'm working on right now, it uses like ammo tracking because I felt that was important for the theme I'm going with for the setting. It's kind of like a survival horror thing. So I felt that was
Mhm.
like carefully like tracking your bullets was important to that. But for everything else, just to kind of streamline things and to kind of like in a lot of cases give it like that cinematic feel where you have a revolver but you're shooting it like 20 times without reloading, like in a movie.
Yeah.
Like I do like the usage dice system. Plus, in Streets of Magic, I also took that same usage dice system and I'm applying it to all other stuff too, like to see if your medkit depletes while you're using it, to see if your batteries run out, to see if your armor like holds up to combat.
Right.
So
Was
yeah,
that
yeah,
did you get a funky flawed piece and it's gone after the first shot, unlike
yeah,
that last
yeah,
set that
yeah,
lasted forever?
yeah. And it's
This
kind
is
of up
no
to the
wiggle like it
referee.
used to.
Yeah, it's kind of up to the referee when they make you roll that. But yeah, no. So I extrapolated that ammo system into other aspects of Streets of Magic. But the ammo system is still, yeah, it's a usage die, and basically you have a usage die of D2 to D12, and as long as you don't roll a 1, you're good.
How many projects does Victor have on the go
Uh
at the same time?
let's see. I have like 2 or 3 at this right now. Technically, I'm not actively working on all of them right now, but I do have stuff like on the back burner.
Are
So yeah.
you actually like playing in games right now?
No, because I've just
Right.
been so busy, and all my friends have gotten really busy. All my friends that I usually run games with, they have like really busy jobs now and stuff like that. So we haven't really been able to get together to play anything. But I hope
Well,
to
my
start
heart
play
goes out
testing
to you.
stuff soon. Yeah,
Well, then I'll keep an eye out for notices on the server.
yeah.
What kind of group party are the PC in your game? Ooh, is so like are they shadow runners? Are they anything? Or do you have a sort of a default theme for starting
No,
group?
you can be anything. So you can be a squad of police officers. You can be a squad of soldiers. You can be a private detective. You can just be bank robbers. You can be like
Oh,
Indiana
oh,
Jones
oh.
style adventurers. You can do whatever. It's like it's a modern world with all these different archetypes as far as classes goes, and it's kind of up to you what you want to do in that world, how you want to make your money or get your reputation. So I don't really pigeonhole people in this game into certain roles. It's like whatever you want to do. So you could do something like Heat, and we're like, yeah, we're just like a group of bank robbers, and we're doing like all these cool heists around the city, and the police is like on our trail. You could do that, or you
Hey,
could be like mercenaries, and we go and fight in fictional World War II. Like I don't know, yeah.
I was just about to ask if there are various like do you plan out premises and include those in the book? Like one group could be this. I've seen some games do that.
Mhm.
Here's a list of possible premises for your group or your
Yeah.
campaign. Do
Mhm.
you have a section like that planned for Streets of Magic?
Yeah, because I have a section like that in Modern Necessities, where that's like the little plot hooks. And I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure yet if it's in that edition. I can't remember. That's the first edition.
Right.
Might
Yeah.
be, but
I have the early edition, folks,
yeah,
because I'm a collector.
yeah.
But you
But
should get the
yeah,
newest one, which is on Drive Through RPG.
yeah. And I think it's actually on sale right now.
I believe you are correct because if
Yeah,
we
because there's the site-wide sale, and I'm opted into that. So, but yeah, I have like the chapter of like little plot hooks. So I'm gonna do the same thing in this.
there we go. So that's looks like the new one on Drive Through RPG.
Yeah,
Yep, on sale for 11.24.
yeah,
And you know me, I'm a physical book guy. I'm always going for the print on demand.
yeah.
This digital. Oh, it's GM's Day. Is that what today is?
I guess so. Yeah.
Well, I didn't get the memo. Darn it. Wow. And yeah, I dropped the link in the chat. So, what is the big bad?
Again,
What
that's
do
up
you
to you.
want
That's
to
up to
be?
you. That's up to the referee. That could be a crime boss. It could be
Mhm.
some powerful necromancer who's like planning to unleash zombies on the city. It could be a dragon in human disguise who's running like a megacorp or something. Or he's
Mhm.
like, he's like a high level politician, but he's actually a dragon and he's like up to no good. He's like actually an evil dragon.
Yeah.
uh could be like a lich, like I don't know, could be a vampire who's like the president of some Eastern European nation, like I don't know,
And it,
it's up to you.
so there's no cohesive like big bad. The world is being
No,
invaded by
no,
aliens or
no.
something like that. So, but they're diverse kinds of threats and very much it's the sort of conflicts you would expect from a modern setting, the real world, but with the magic in there as spice. Now,
Yeah,
have you had so it's a referee then?
yeah,
I'm not sure if I catch that one of your
yeah.
trumpet. I'm an uncultured American. You're gonna have to dumb it down a little.
Yeah.
But and it follows, I think, that the big bad of whatever the campaign that's up to for the GM design,
Yeah,
and it's going to spring pretty naturally from whatever the theme of the
yeah,
campaign or group is.
yeah,
You know?
exactly. Yeah, I just give the world and what you do in that world and how you won what campaigns you won and play in. That's pretty much up to you.
Did you have to come up with a timeline for this alternate world? Have you decided to leave that intentionally nebulous, sort of like
uh
how we have in Bright?
yeah, yeah.
They give you a short summation, but
I have like very like generalized, like a very generalized timeline. There's no like, oh, this is what happened in 1936 or whatever. It's very generalized. Because again,
ah,
I'm keeping the setting purposely kind of like timeless and anachronistic. So I'm not even really gonna mention what decade it's set in. That's up to you if you want to specify that. If you want to specify it's 1955 or whatever, go ahead. But I'm kind of keeping it like nebulous because I like that whole, like, is it the 30s? I don't know, because there's like a guy with a Tommy gun, and then there's also
mhm.
like a Walker chick that stepped out of some 80s punk band, like so
Yeah, I
yeah,
love that intentionally
yeah,
anachronistic
yeah,
style. It's
yeah,
it's some things are kind of futuristic, some things are definitively modern, some things are and there's a variety of things from different paths. And
yeah.
follow up on this one, Patty wouldn't mind having you on for a boldly rolling.
Yeah, maybe once I get more comfortable with running stuff in public, because I've never done that before. So doing it on the basic expert channel is going to be scary enough. But once I'm more
And
comfortable, I would gladly run some more one shots.
yeah, Ear Trumpet is just saying he was referring to referee, meaning GM or DM
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
whatever.
I usually call it a referee myself.
Mhm. And print in Europe or US?
So I'm printing in the US, mostly just for logistical reasons, because most of my customer base that I found is in North America somewhere. So it just made the most sense to get the offset print for Streets of Magic done in the US and using a fulfillment company in the US. So, but if you pledge for the print on demand version, Drive to Printer also has a what's it called, like a offshoot, I guess, in Britain.
Yeah,
So yeah,
right. And I mean, you'll be all right, Vic. You can do worse than Jeremy or I. You
yeah,
can do worse than Jeremy or I?
yeah. I'm
Both at
sure
the
it
same
means
time?
can't. Yeah,
Challenge accepted.
yeah.
And are there thoughts for explicitly science fiction elements like space suits, laser armor, spaceships? Like, do you have ideas or plans for that, or do you think that should be its own sort of
That
game?
yeah, that'll be like a supplement, probably like an expansion, I wouldn't mind sending it in the same theme. I have some ideas for that, but at the same time, I could easily make it like a whole separate setting. Like I'll have to see. But I do want to make a cyberpunk supplement that is set in the same setting, but it's like 50 years later, or whatever.
Nifty. I like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
idea.
yeah,
Something that where you can advance the
yeah.
technology.
And
Of
then
course, given the last 50 years, it's really hard to predict what things will look like in 50
yeah.
years.
Well, that's why I'm just gonna go for straight up old school cyberpunk, where it's like kind of like cassette futurism, like chicks with poofy hair, and then guys with big sunglasses with wires coming out of it, and
Right.
like
I dig it.
so.
It's sort of
Yeah,
like if we decided to do an explicit like Flash Gordon
yeah, yeah,
campaign.
yeah,
It's the future, but not really because it's
yeah,
all stuff from the
yeah,
30s.
yeah. It's still gonna be kind of like that anachronistic, like, yeah. It's more like, what if this world moved explicitly into kind of like an 80s, like early 90s cyberpunk future?
Mo is in agreement. He thinks that your ambiguous time setting is the
Yeah,
right move because that
yeah.
actually hurts Shadowrun. I I think I can kind of see that reasoning
Hmm.
because like when I bought the first Shadowrun back in the 80s when it came out, and even at the time I remember reading going, gosh, this is set in like 2077 or something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
or whatever, 2050, something like that. And I
yeah. I
was
think
like,
the 50s, the early versions. Yeah,
and at the time I'm going, well, it's the 80s. If I think what the world was like in 1910, it's completely different than what it
yeah,
is, Yeah, how the world was just a little bit too much like our own
yeah,
for 70 years to have elapsed,
yeah, yeah. Um. Oh, I was also gonna say, but I can also do it the other way. So I have like ideas for kind of like a steampunk setting, and that can just be the Victorian age version of Streets of Magic. Like, what if it's like 100 years before, like the core book, something like that. So,
I love
there's all
that.
sorts of I can do.
That's fantastic. And all built off the same system. You can
Yeah,
go forward and backwards in time.
yeah,
You can do specific geographic locations, like what's Cairo like in your
yeah,
world.
yeah,
That's got
yeah,
to be
yeah, yeah,
interesting.
definitely, yeah.
That's incredible.
And it would
um
also be interesting to maybe start with like the steampunk one, and your character's like a young elf, and then you switch to the modern one, and it's like 100 years later, and that elf is still around. And then you switch to the cyberpunk one, and now he's like all like more middle aged, but he's still around. And maybe he's hanging out with the great grandson of the human that you hung out with in the steampunk game. So so there's like fun stuff you could do with that.
yeah, that's a really interesting idea, and it's a shame that it has to be restricted to elves because of the wrong age. I don't know
Well,
if
there's
you
also
have you
dwarves and
dwarves.
kobolds.
Have you ever been exposed to Vampire in the World of Darkness stuff in that?
I've never played the tabletop game. I never had a chance to. I got invited a bunch of times, and I would make characters, and then the game never happened. Uh,
Uh,
but I played all the PC games.
okay.
So, and
So
I read,
like
yeah, yeah,
Bloodlines and
yeah,
everything else.
and I read
Bloodlines is
books. Yeah,
the best one by hands down.
yeah,
But the world. Well, one of the concepts in that for the elder level games where you're playing an old vampire is to start kind of like what you said. You start with a
yeah,
Dark Ages character, and
yeah,
then you go through the various age categories of, okay,
yeah,
it's been another 100 years. What are you up to now?
yeah,
And you tell a campaign in those long time stretches.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, you don't have to be an elf. You could be a dwarf, because dwarves are fairly long lived.
That's
I
true.
can
Yeah.
I kind of have like a clockwork robot race, so you could do that. You could do a vampire. You could do some kind of other undead.
Tell me
Uh,
about the clockwork robot race.
they're called war clocks, and basically the basic idea was that at some point, maybe during World War I, like that world's version of World War I,
First
I'm still
mechanized war.
yeah. They basically made like a clockwork supercomputer, kind of like a Charles Babbage like analytical machine, but like huge, and like basically like the first AI almost. And it was like a big clockwork supercomputer, and it basically started making these war clocks for the war effort, like clockwork men to fight in the war. And
Were they
then
originally made in Switzerland?
I think I was gonna originally make them from Britain, because the old Charles Babbage thing.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's actually pretty good.
yeah, yeah. So basically, they're like just clockwork people that are still around, and like they keep upgrading themselves and stuff like that. So that would also be an interesting thing. Like you start as one of those in like kind of like the steampunk setting where he gets first made, and he's like all like old school brass clockwork. And then by the time that he gets to the cyberpunk future, he's like upgraded himself so much that he's like like a lot more modern, and he's got like armor plating bolted on and like
Mhm.
electronics and stuff, like replacing some of his old parts. That could be interesting.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah, actually, it's very fertile ground to imagine a lot of different scenarios, particularly
yeah,
because D20 Modern was one of those games that I wanted to play, but never got a chance to really,
yeah,
never got to explore some of the ideas and stuff in there.
yeah.
What were some of your experiences like with that? What were your takeaways? What did you learn from doing that?
Uh, it inspired a lot of like my decisions as far as like doing the combat and what not. Um, like a lot of that is still based on my experiences with D20 Modern. I'll be honest, because I don't know, I like D20 Modern. It had like a lot of good ideas.
Mhm.
Some of it is outdated by now, probably. Like
Yeah, where did it fall short at the time? Because I don't know. I remember hearing criticisms of it over the years, but I don't know how well grounded I considered them. But
the big criticism I never really had an issue with it myself, but the big criticism I always hear was like the wealth system,
mhm.
where it didn't really have like like stuff didn't really have a monetary value. You just had like a wealth stat, and then you would roll to see if you could like get an item or not.
Yeah,
Uh,
can we find
yeah,
it? Do I have the cash
yeah,
available to
yeah,
purchase
yeah.
it?
Which I personally thought was like a fine abstraction. I didn't mind it, but
Me too. I do
yeah.
like that.
Yeah, but I hear a lot of people complain about it, so I guess that was like the big gripe for it. Plus, people were kind of getting tired of the glut of D20 products at the time, so I think that hurt it eventually. But yeah, yeah, no, a lot of my own ideas are kind of informed by D20 Modern plus Tristat and like all those
Now,
systems that I used to
I'm the
play.
least familiar with TriStat. Can you
Yeah,
describe that to me? What is that like?
it's a well, it's got three stats. Like it's got your stats are body.
It does what it says on the tin.
Yeah, it's body, mind, soul, if I remember right.
Hmm.
And then everything is kind of like derived from that. Uh, the Ghost Dog one that I had was a D6 system, roll under D6. But the what dice you used kind of depended on the power level of the game. So kind of like modern action stuff. Like if you just like a regular like action hero was like a D6, but then the
Mhm.
superhero games, the superhero supplements, they use like a D10 or D12 even, I think, because
Mhm.
characters were like more higher powered, so they had bigger dice to do more badass stuff basically, and their stats could go higher and whatnot. And then if you were just like a regular dude, like just like some mook running around, that was like a D4. So I thought that was always kind of like an interesting way to
It's
do it. Yeah,
very cool. It's reminiscent of the old Deadlands game
yeah,
and Savage Worlds, where your
yeah,
stats are a die instead.
yeah, yeah. But this was like the whole book would be like tailored to a specific die. So it wasn't just your character. Like they didn't really mix. You could do that, but it would kind of hurt the game in the end.
Mhm.
But it's like, yeah, if it's a superhero book, this whole system is built on a D10. If it's like a modern action book, this whole system is built on a D6. So that's the kind of
Interesting.
yeah. And then the edition that I used to play was roll under. I think later on they went to a roll over variant, but I never played that one. The one I always played was roll under, which worked fine. But
Yeah, it
yeah,
works fine, although I understand the instinctive,
yeah,
intuitive appeal of rolling
yeah.
higher is better,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no, it took a
It's
little bit getting
natural.
used to at first, but um, and yeah, it's just like a really like nice kind of simple generic system that you can use for all sorts of settings. So, like they had the Ghost Dog book, but they also had like Silver Age Sentinels, which was like the superhero one. They had like all this stuff.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard of that one.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and then Big Eye Small Mouth, which was like all that anime stuff, was basically the same system, but it was like explicitly like anime setting. So they had like kind of like a Gundam style like mecha setting. They had like kind of like a Gunsmith Cats type book,
Right.
Hot Wats and Gun Bunnies. So
Yep.
yeah. So that was like the anime stuff, which I also played because that was fun.
Oh yeah. I'm a Mechton guy myself. That's my
Yeah,
anime game of choice.
yeah,
But that goes back to the '80s for me.
yeah. But no, Tri-Status, I liked it. They still do a version of it. I think they're on 4th edition or whatever, which I have technically. Or was that Big Eye Small Mouth for that was 4th edition? No, it's basically the same system, so shouldn't really matter. But yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Malachi's backing you up, both Tri-Stat 2d6 on the Big Eye Smallmouth and 2d6, 2d10, pardon me, for the Silver Age.
yeah, exactly.
My elf worked in the 50s and gets his pension from then until forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you that's that was the civil rights areas. No elf retirement. No elf retirement. There's no reason for an elf to retire ever.
Well, the way I solved that, I kind of solved that whole like, well, this race is immortal. Like, how does that work in like a modern context? The way I kind of solve is that for the most part, the elves you see in like society are like the young ones that are kind of like sowing their wild oats. It's kind of like Elven Wurmspringer, where they get to like go out and like kind of do their own thing for like 100, 200 years, kind of sow their wild oats, like have some adventures, make some money, sleep around, whatever they want to do. And then after that, they're kind of expected to come back to elf society and like, do elvish stuff.
I
like
mean,
in their own
after
little
a couple
enclaves.
100 years, you're probably very bored with the human world and ready to go home.
Yeah. So for the most part, you're not gonna run into like a 1,000-year-old elf who's just like working at the office like that. Like a 1,000-year-old elf would just still be like some amazing elder that's just sitting in some pocket dimension somewhere, that you never see. But yeah. So it's like the young elves that you see.
Now I'm thinking about a 1,000-year-old elf janitor at some corporate building. He's
Yeah.
been there forever.
Yeah. I mean, you can do that if you want. I'm not stopping you, but I did want to kind of like solve that whole issue. It's like, well, why is there like this 1,000-year-old elf character like running around as a level 1 character? Is like he's fought in every war since King Arthur, like, but he's like level 1 just as the 20-year-old human. It's like no.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So elves are for the most part like the young ones.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What are the big challenges similar to that in a similar vein? What are the other big challenges you face when mixing fantastic elements that we kind of take for granted in our D&D OSR play and mixing them into a modern setting? Like, Mo points out getting a pension forever, that world would work differently. You know?
Exactly. Kind of keeping like magic should be powerful, so to where it like so people have fun with it, but it shouldn't be so powerful that it kind of like starts overtaking everything else. Where it's like no point ever picking up a gun or a sword or whatever. I still want people to get into gunfights. I want people to get into sword fights and in like kung fu fights and stuff like that. But I don't want magic to overtake that. But at the same time, like I said, I don't want magic to be weak. So kind of finding that balance is important. And I'm still working on that, and hopefully I'll do well, but we'll see.
Well, it sounds like on the baseline you're using the 5 classic tiers or spell levels, so that provides you a good framework.
Yeah,
but you sounded slightly dissatisfied with that selection of spells, like you're talking about. You want to create a fire school with a certain selection of things. And necromancy, so that way they're more focused. What are some of those options that you have in mind? Like, when you envision magic, what are the schools that it really needs?
So technomancy, so you can basically be like a modern, like a mage that focuses on like modern stuff. So it's like, hey, I just snap my fingers and now the stoplight is like going from red to green or whatever, like in a 100-yard radius.
Right.
Something like that. Or basically kind of like I'm using my magic to kind of like do hacking stuff. Pyromancy, because fire magic is always fun. Demonology, because summoning demons and like all that stuff, like that's always interesting in the gaming
it's
context.
classic. I mean,
So yeah, no, I kind of want like almost to be like superpowers almost like where it's like you're Johnny Storm, like you turn into fire and you do fire stuff. I kind of want to like mages to be the same way. Like I'm the fire mage, I do fire stuff, and I'm like all fire themed. So
Is the magic then in some way intrinsically costly to them? So like some games solve that with the spellcasting rolls in the magnitude of things that can happen to you on the magic mishap table
yeah,
is much higher at level 5 than at level 4
yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. I'm basically doing it like that, and then I also have kind of like ambient magic so in the world, because there's like the ley line system, so the world is like permeated with like magic. But it's not a constant level. Some areas are kind of like dead in magic, and some areas are higher in magic, and there's like in betweens. So depending on what area you're in, you have like bonuses or penalties to your spell casting. So if you're like in a dead magic area, you might have a -6 to your spell casting wall. So that's pretty harsh. And then you have to solve that
Yeah.
some other ways. I do have kind of like a drug that I call rock candy, and it's basically crushed up magic that they snort, and it gives you like a temporary like magical boost. So if you're in a dead magic area, you can be like, okay, I'm just gonna like take a snort of rock candy, and now my
I just need a bump, man. I'll be good in there after a bump.
yeah, and now my -6 penalty is compensated by a +6 bonus from this high level, high quality rock candy. So now I don't have like it evens out. So hopefully I won't fail my spellcasting rolls now. But then you might have to deal with addiction and like all that stuff. So
nobody hurts. Addiction is not a real problem. It's all in your head.
yeah. See, magic and tech or magic. It's kind of integrated. It's kind of like almost like magitech in like some ways. Like so, a lot of it is integrated. But I do plan that certain like highly magical races do kind of struggle with like some of the modern technology a little bit.
Sure, sure. And well, that's one of those things I haven't seen that explored to a lot of ideas, but that magic and tech crossover and integration, like real integration with each other,
Yeah.
and little what do you call it, runes scrawled on little bullets and whatnot,
Yeah,
or a magic site.
yeah. Yeah, and that also like applies to the world at large. They're basically tapping the ley line networks for power. It's almost kind of like what Shinra was doing in Final Fantasy VII. Where they have the earth energy that they're like siphoning. So
For their
yeah,
power plants, yeah.
yeah. So it's kind of like that, like stuff like that, basically. There's like a magical internet. So yeah.
Magical elven magician elf bones.
Yeah.
Now, looking ahead though, what are some of the aspirations? We've talked a little bit generally loosely. You've got plans for this new system. What do you think is coming down the pipeline in the industry at large? Like, we just kind of got a weird announcement, like the D&D thing has been retroactively labeled 5.5, and they're intimating that there's going to be a 6th edition.
Yeah.
And also it seems like the OGL crisis, like with you and with Shadowdark, it's been a boon for independent stuff. From your perspective and the way you see things, like what do you see around the corner? What do you see coming in the next year or two?
Yeah, no, I do expect that they're gonna do a 6th edition. We'll have to see how well it does. I expect they're gonna make the same mistakes that they've been making for a few years now, but who knows?
It's hard to correct that ship. It's
Yeah.
kind of, you said something earlier that, well, you're a one-man guy and they got a team of 20 people. And
Yeah.
let's face it, the one-man guy, when there's, if you can divorce artists, but like when it's one guy, it's usually the superior game. Actually.
Yeah.
Very few really good games were designed by committee.
Yeah, it's just
not any I can think of, honestly.
it's just harder to get it promoted as one guy. That was more my point. Like as one guy, like I have
That's a
to
different
also do all the promotion myself. If you have 20 people, well, it's 20 people on the social media, advertising it. So
Right,
yeah,
right. Hey, I worked on this and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah. So exactly, and they usually, because they're already like a bigger company, they already have like resources that I don't have access to. Uh,
Yeah, they're
so
sort of that.
yeah,
They're no Wizards of the Coast or anything like that, but they're
yeah.
established indie
Yeah,
publishers.
and they have
So
like they're friends with like bigger YouTubers and like all that stuff. So yeah, um, yeah. As for what's on the pipeline, well, Shadow Dog is still going strong, and I expect Kelsey is gonna just keep building off of that. And I expect there's gonna be even more third party stuff for it, which I'm gonna be adding to. I'll be honest.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
one of
It
my side
seems
projects right now is another Shadow Dog game. So yeah,
it seems really promising to this point. And again, Kelsey's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Do you think Shadow Dark really has that kind of staying power? Would have
It does
enough
so far.
people
Yeah.
have enough people shifted from like 5e or official D&D to Shadow Dark, do you
Uh,
think?
it, it feels very popular. Like there's like cons that are running it pretty regularly. She's setting up some official kind of like tournament play thing, I believe,
Yes.
forward. So yeah, no, I believe it has staying power, especially if you see how much third party content for is coming out for it. It kind of feels like almost like the D20 days again, which
Yeah, that
I
is
don't. Yeah.
really stand out. Like
Yeah.
very few, no, actually, really, no other games in the OSR or indie space have ignited as much support amongst
No.
third party people.
Uh, Old School Essentials did to a degree. There was like a lot of stuff coming out for Old School Essentials as well.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
Shadow Dog seems to like be even a step above that. There always seems to be like some new Shadow Dog thing coming out like every week. And I'm not saying that negatively, because I make Shadow Dog stuff. Like I'm
Right,
involved in that too, so I can't say anything negative about it to begin with.
right. Yeah, yeah. You're part of the problem.
Yeah,
We get it.
basically, yeah.
And
No, yeah,
the other side of that though is that it's hard to stand out with so much
yeah,
material like you were expressing
yeah,
earlier. Oh, I have an idea for a cyberpunk book, but there's 10 other people working on a
yeah.
cyberpunk book for it right now.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons also why I did Blacklight, because nobody else was really doing that kind of pure modern and tackling kind of like that
Mhm.
SCP Foundation, that Silent Hill, that Stranger Things theme.
Yeah, that
Uh, uh,
back rooms,
yeah,
King
yeah,
Pixels kind of thing.
yeah, and it's done well for me. It's like one of my best sellers right now. Uh, People seem to like it. It gets talked about a fair amount within Shadow Dog circles, so I can't complain. Like, yeah.
That's
Uh,
great.
But yeah, as for the future of the hobby, I kind of feel like like in the OSR particular, like the future is kind of like stuff like Shadow Dog, and uh, also stuff what the Basic Export is doing, where it's taking a very particular approach to, like, hey, this is like 0E combined with chainmail and how I envision it, like those working together and stuff. I kind of feel like that generic the more generic games are kind of like falling by the wayside, uh like Lamentations of the Flame, Lamentations of the Flame, for instance. And I don't want to call it generic in like a negative sense, but like kind of just like the standard like OSR fantasy games. Like I don't know, I'm not sure how
Yeah.
to explain it, but
That's well, and see, that's kind of where I am. Like I said, I only got really active in the online
yeah,
community a couple of years ago, but it honestly feels like the OSR is getting pretty worn out. It is
yeah,
pretty worn out.
yeah.
I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but like OSE had its day, and that day appears to have passed.
Yeah, they're coming out with a new version soon, I hear. So I'm kind of curious what they'll be changing with that. Um,
Right.
I have to keep my
Right.
eye on that, because maybe if they do change enough, if it's like different enough than the old version, maybe I'll do an updated Modern Necessities for it. We'll see. Um,
That's promising.
yeah, but yeah, and I don't know. Hopefully, Streets of Magic will do well. Hopefully, people won't consider that like generic and dumb. Hopefully, it'll do
Well,
well.
hopefully not.
Yeah,
I think probably the worst thing is it's going to invite comparisons to Shadowrun,
Yeah,
but to be honest, please compare it to Shadowrun because nobody else has tried to do Shadowrun.
yeah,
Like
exactly. Yeah,
Shadowrun is, there's been 7
yeah,
editions of that, but no one else has said, I can do that and offer something different enough to
yeah,
be competitive, and I'm
yeah.
excited about that.
Yeah, I hope that my setting and my general team and like the gun rules and all that stuff will kind of like help set me apart.
Mhm.
So
Plus, you had the perfect opportunity to launch a global canon one-to-one time campaign with every player in the world, like they did for Torg.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You could use this to run like a one-on-one kind of like Brozart type game. You could do Braunsteins in it and stuff. I guess like
Oh,
it's up to you.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, and that's one of those things I love being in that circle because, like, those two things in particular, one-to-one time and Braunstein's, whatever that actually fucking means, is it, those are things that go with any game. Like,
yeah,
really, any game can benefit from one-to-one time if you think about what those changes mean for that game.
yeah,
I didn't participate as deeply as I wanted, but I was in somebody's Call of Cthulhu one-to-one time game. It was play by post in Discord.
yeah,
A lot of really interesting stuff going on, and very uh, and it was working just fine with having multiple players running around, and he even incorporated his in-person Call of Cthulhu game with the campaign. We were all playing in the same campaign
yeah,
together, so it was and of course I've said numerous times in my vampire LARPing days that one time was the default. It
yeah,
was, we get together to play every 2 weeks. 2 weeks have passed for the characters as
yeah,
well,
yeah,
and it
yeah. That makes
really
sense.
it makes so many issues moot that you go, when you do it and you use it for a little while, you tend to go, why haven't I been doing this all along?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't really tried one-on-one yet, but I was actually thinking of trying to run a one-on-one campaign in Streets of Magic once it's done. That should be interesting.
Well, and I think it would certainly be interesting. It allows multiple groups. I'm sure you've heard all those arguments, but
Mhm.
it's the real ability that, yeah, we're all still sharing the same campaign world, but this
Yeah,
group is over here doing that, and that group's over there doing that. You don't
yeah,
have, and on the nights when you can't get together with your regular people, you can tag along with
yeah.
others. It
It also
having
lend. Yeah. So it.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying that, like, that having that normal game is every Thursday night, and it's not tied to a specific set of characters. We can play no matter who shows up. If you can't make it on Thursday night, okay, sorry, but you're not holding up the game. You don't get to hold the game hostage or the campaign hostage
Yeah.
because your character can't make it.
Yeah, it also lends itself. The setting lends itself pretty well to kind of like patron play because maybe somebody is the mob boss, and then the other character is like the chief of police, and then there's
Mhm.
another character who's like running like a corporation,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they're all like kind of like maneuvering and doing like political stuff around the city, and then meanwhile they have like teams of players that are working for them or working against them, like moving around the city and stuff. So that could be really fun with multiple groups and multiple people, kind of like
yeah.
create. Yeah,
Everything you've laid out, I can see many opportunities for
yeah,
patrons. Again, any of the big bad guys you listed earlier,
yeah,
that's also a patron in the
yeah, exactly.
campaign.
Yeah, it
That's a
doesn't even have to just be in the city. It could be like global. Like, yeah,
mhm.
maybe the patron is like the vampire president of some country in the Carpathian Mountains. Like, so yeah,
Now, when it comes to the role playing, right? The it's pretty clear based upon your choices in design that you favor the rules light approach as opposed to a crunch approach. Shadowrun is a game, like I said, kind of
Mhm.
needlessly complicated in my opinion.
Yeah.
But what's your calculus? What's your thinking in the having a few rules, light rules, versus having a lot of rules in a
Uh,
complex system?
I'm kind of in the middle ground. So I want the core system to be fairly streamlined, but then like my weapon stuff is a little bit more crunchy because I like my combat to kind of be almost like a skirmish game. I like people having to use make tactical decisions. Like, okay, well, this is going on, so I'm gonna like use a full auto attack because that targets like a whole group. I'm gonna use a suppressive fire attack because these people are moving up, and I need to like stop them for a moment so the rest of my team can like flank them and stuff. So I like the crunch. Kind of like I like a little bit more of a crunch in that aspect, but as far as like the core system goes, I'm trying to keep it streamlined. Like I don't like rules light to the point where like Borg or like something like that. Like for me, that gets like really boring.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I want like a little like I don't know. Like I said, middle ground. I want crunch where it matters and streamlined where it also matters. So
correct, yeah, and I really get that because I kind of feel like there's that zone. I've played very complicated games like the Hero System Champion. Pardon me, works extremely well.
Yeah.
As long as everybody is familiar with the game and knows it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like I said about Shadowrun, it felt not just that it was complex, it was needlessly complex.
Mm-hmm.
It was more complicated than it needed to be to do the job it did.
Yeah.
I felt similar about RuneQuest as a kid because, that was a wake-up experience because I spent 2 or 3 hours rolling up a character and then still died in my first fight like I would a, a 0 edition fighter.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, I want the core system to, like, if you're rolling skill checks, if you're just role playing, to not be too obtrusive, to work pretty simply. And then once you get into specific situations, that's when the crunch starts ramping up a little bit. So
absolutely,
yeah.
All right. Well, as you can see, my voice is starting to go on me, Vic. I think I got to wrap it up here.
Yeah.
Do you have any parting words for us?
Well, I kind of wanted to touch on my previous point a little bit and kind of like clarify.
I'm gonna mute for a second.
Yeah, and now it also escaped my head. So now I can't remember what I was actually going to say. Damn it! What was I going to say? Oh no, what I meant with like kind of like generic systems and like the way the OSR is going. Like I think now to stand out, you need like a really good setting, or you need like something that's mechanically interesting and something that people haven't really done so much. Or you need something like Gods of the Forbidden North, which is for old school essentials, but it's like this like huge mega dungeon. It's like 3 books with like years worth of adventure and stuff. So I think you kind of need, going forward, the OSR kind of needs to find, like OSR creators kind of need to find a niche like that, because you can't really get by anymore with just like, here, this is BX with my own fantasy setting attached to it. And yeah, like you used to, which was fine. Like that's how the OSR got started. But I think now, as a creator, to like kind of proliferate yourself, you need to find like an interesting angle. So that's kind of what I was trying to say earlier. And yeah.
All right, Vic, I'm going to take this opportunity to end the stream.
Yeah.
Thank you kindly.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate you working through this multiple levels of difficulty.
Yeah, it's fine. I know how it goes. I have allergies too.
Thank you, folks, and good night.